Happened?
You were in a serious accident.
I can't feel my legs.
You did some serious damage to your spinal cord in the accident. Unfortunately, you'll never walk again.
I had my injury driving to work when I was 19. I was a uni student at the time, but working in retail. It was a wet weather day, and basically there was oil on the road, so I took off from the satellites, and there was oil, and it caused my car to spin and hit a tree. My earliest memories of my injury were waking up in life support in intensive care and basically going, what's going on here, what's happening, not being able to speak, eat, drink, anything like that. Just really going, okay, I remember being in a car accident and having woken up going, okay, what's going on here? So that's probably my earliest memories of my injury.
Well, I had my accident in 1988 when I was 19 years old. I was out late one night on my motorbike, took a corner too fast or too late, and the bike hit the gutter. I went over the handlebars head first into a tree and shattering the fifth vertebrae in my neck. So I'm a high-level quadriplegic basically. So I broke breaking the C5, which meant that I have limited arm function. I can't move anything with my armpits down. No finger function at all. All I can do is that. Can't lift them up the other way. And no triceps, so I'm pretty limited with what I can do physically.
I had my accident in November 2006, Melbourne Cup weekend. I had a motorbike accident, and I don't remember anything about the actual accident. I woke up in hospital, it was 4 days after the accident, even though I was apparently conscious at the time. Early on, I guess I've always been a fairly positive person, and I think a lot of my friends thought I wasn't dealing with it because I hadn't sort of slumped into a heap and hadn't bawled my eyes out or anything, and said that it was going to come down on me like a ton of bricks later. And I'm sort of still waiting for that ton of bricks up there somewhere. Apparently they're still up there. I had no idea about spinal cord injury or life in a wheelchair, and I didn't know what to expect, so I sort of wasn't going to make up my mind straight away that it was going to be horrible or that it was going to be wonderful either, because I just had no idea.
When I first had my accident, I lay in bed for 3 months and head tongs and these with sort of like a C-shaped clamp, it's sort of like a medieval torture device with a rope on the end of it and a weight, and they use that to pull your neck straight to allow the bones in your neck to heal. So I lay in bed for 3 months, just staring at the ceiling. As I lay there, I suppose I was still in my pre-accident way of thinking. I was still the same person. I was 6'3", and as far as I was concerned, I was bulletproof. I could do anything physically. And as I lay there, I thought, when I got up, I'm this big, strong guy. I should be able to, push the chair around, get around really easily.
My earliest memories were waking up on life support, wondering what had happened, what the future was as well. Sort of being so young, when you're that young, you sort of think, okay, everything will be all right. You don't think that any injury is permanent, but having to deal with a permanent injury as well was very confronting. Also going through rehabilitation at that stage was quite confronting and depressing at the time. Like I said, everyone seems to think that you'll get better, but when you're faced with the reality that you're not actually going to get better, that can be quite daunting as well.
After rehab, I was waiting for my parents' place to be modified so I could move back there because the rental place I was in was not wheelchair friendly at all. It took about 2 years for the house to be modified. And so in the meantime, I was in a hotel in South Yarra. That was the toughest time because I guess I had more time to think then. I had all day on my own, and I guess I started to get a bit down about things, and I don't know if it was depression or if that's how maybe depression starts, when you don't notice anything around you that might be positive because you're so focused on the downside of everything.
I think the first time the physical situation really dawned on me was when I was sent to the rehab ward. I was in this big recliner wheelchair and the nurse wheeled me down, and she pushed me into this room and she left me there, just facing this pale blue wall. That was the moment that I actually realised what my disability was. First I had to relearn how to feed myself. We used to get more on me than in my mouth. Through to brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, doing all the really basic things that you used to be able to do. You had to relearn all those again. You're sort of like a baby having to relearn everything you used to be able to do. And 9 months later, I finally went home, and that's, I think, when the real challenges started. It wasn't so much being in rehab, it was when you got home and you had to be, try and fit back into your own life. Everyone else, they're going on with their lives, and your mates, and they're doing their own thing, and then you're there, and everything you used to be able to do, knocking around your mates, that sort of thing, you can't do anymore. I think back in those days, anyone with my level of disability didn't do a hell of a lot.
Sorry you knocked over that vase the other day.
I know, because I just can't see, so I don't have my glasses on as well. So that's a problem.
You should also get that fixed.
I know, and my hearing aid.
Oh God.
Deaf, dumb, and deaf. 3 problems.
No.
One thing at a time, I guess.
Thank you, my love, you're so sweet. Yeah, she reminded me of my granddaughter with that beautiful blonde hair.
Do I?
You're gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you all for coming today. You've all been making incredible progress. Now for today's session, we're going to talk about recovery and what that really means. Because it might not be what you think.
Part of my recovery was really important to get back and be social again. Essentially, what I wanted to do was try and create a sense of normality, and I was a very social person before my injury, would go out with my friends quite often, do stupid things, and that's probably part of the reason why I ended up this way. But, one of my first experiences going out is we'd go out to one of our regular nightclubs, and it was upstairs. My friends were like, oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? By the time they'd worked out what we were going to do, I'd given $50 to the bouncer and I was already halfway up the stairs. Basically what I wanted to do was get out there, have fun, joke with people, joke about my injury a lot. A lot of people would feel bad talking about things like, we'll go for a walk and all that, and they'll pause. I'm like, okay, I'll give you a race.
I remembered something one of my teachers said in high school about attitude being a choice, and I really thought hard about that and gave myself a kick up the bum and decided to just choose a new attitude. It's not as easy as it sounds, but you've got to work on it all the time. But attitude really is a choice, and you can choose what you want to focus on. And so I started to look for things that I could do instead of focusing on all the things that I was missing out on or that I couldn't do. And well, the first thing that I did was to get my license again, and a car that was modified, obviously. And that gave me a huge chunk of independence back in one whole piece, and I could go wherever I wanted, anytime I wanted, and I didn't have to ask for help. And that was the beginning of the upward spiral. I've got a very close family. I'm one of 6 kids, and Adam, my now husband, has been just the most incredible support for me. And we'd been together about a year when it happened. So that's a pretty young relationship, really. I pushed him away. I said, off you go, have a great life. I'm cool with that, just expecting that that's how it would go. And he stuck around, and I've been just so incredibly lucky because, to be totally honest, if it had been the other way around and he'd had the accident, I don't know if I could have done it. I honestly don't know if I could have stuck around, and it gives me goosebumps to think about that, and guilt trips and all sorts of things.
The biggest turning point for me in my life was when I went home. I could never transfer independently. I couldn't get myself out of the wheelchair in the bed, and for me, my parents and my family had to put me in the bed at night. And that's at 20 years old. That's a real challenge because you're this 20-year-old guy. Used to going out with your mates and getting drunk, having a great time, and then suddenly your family has to put you in the bed at night. Also, I desperately wanted independence. I wanted to try and be able to do as much for myself as possible, and so I broke this huge, impossible goal down to a whole series of small, achievable goals. Work out first how to get my legs up on the bed, and then move my bum forward in the chair, and then move myself across. One of the biggest challenges for me was that because I don't have the strength, even trying to lift myself from the wheelchair into bed, the chair kept moving out and I'd end up on the ground. So I got my dad to make a little hook, and we bolted that to the bed, and that held the chair in place. It's little things like that make a big difference. And then that allowed me to be able to get across. And after 2 years, I could finally get myself in the bed, undressed, and also in and out of my car, which was fantastic. It gave me so much more independence.
And yes, now I'm very lucky, and I've got my little girl, 9 months old now, and it's been absolutely wonderful. I still can do everything that any other mother does. I still bath her, change her nappy, I put her in and out of bed, carry her around, play with her, just like any other mother does. It hasn't really affected it. We've been blessed with the most amazing, easygoing, chilled out little baby, so that's made it easy too. I'm not sleep deprived like most mums.
So many people who get or hear about spinal injury seem to think that you automatically can't walk. There are people out there with spinal injuries who walk but don't do anything with their life as well. Personally, not walking's fine as long as I live a full and social life. If that becomes everyone's true focus in life, then in my opinion that can be really difficult, and that's sometimes where people's focus shifts to. Their whole idea and agenda becomes on walking, and they miss out on so much more. I would rather live life, travel, have fun, go out, spend time with my friends than focus on walking and things like that. And that took a long time to get my head around.
I think the most important thing that I learned is that you're only limited by what you think you can do. And for me, that was really the turning point in my life. That's when I realised that your disability doesn't define who you are. If you have an open mind and willing to give things a go, step outside your comfort zone. And even though you can't do things the same way as everyone else, it doesn't matter.
Everything you do before your injury, whether it's driving or working or whatever, there's no reason you can't do that. You got to look at yourself and go, okay, what what can I do with my life? I can't walk, but I can do everything else with my life. And that's, you know, whether you want to go out and if you enjoy racing, go racing. If you want to drive, drive. If you want to work, work. Everything you do, there's no limit to what you can do. Just be yourself. Like, you know, I really struggled to be myself for a long period of time, but now I'm myself and back to the way I was, really.
I've managed to get back on the motorbike again. A couple of different versions of. To be back on a two-wheel motorbike again gave me a huge amount of freedom back, and it was 6 years after my accident that I had the final solution for that, and it was actually a trike that leans over called a Leanster. And my first ride, I found it hard to see where I was going because the tears were rolling. I was just so happy. We've travelled across America on the bikes. We took them over there and spent 3 months travelling from one side to the other. And if I could give any piece of advice to anyone who's newly injured, it's probably that things will get easier, they will get better. Don't give up, and that there's a way around pretty much anything.
Still travel, still drive, still have fun, go out, get drunk, go to the races, do things. Probably things that, you know, I should know better, but, you know, still young-ish, and still got to go out and have fun. And that's just the way it is. I could live for another 30, 40 years. I don't want to not have fun for 30, 40 years. How much worse can I really get?